Konnichiwa from the Suzuka circuit in Japan. The home of Honda, Suzuka is an old-school circuit with high-speed straights and tight turns through the S's. At 130R, the track crosses over itself, then loops back around, giving drivers a sweeping expanse of track to challenge them. Suzuka is a high-speed, high-downforce circuit with unpredictable weather. Drivers need to have total trust in their cars to make the most of this challenging figure-of-8 lap.
Hey, Decathlon Gamer, welcome back to F1 Manager 23, episode 89. We are heading into Suzuka to Japan for this next race. We have qualified as the last two drivers, 19th and 20th, yet again, but both drivers and the entire grid is really compact, really close on times. So, yeah, the only way is forward, but we should be able to at least be competitive. I would like to see us have qualified a bit better, though. We're going to go more aggressive on undercut with Tanaka, while Flourish, we're going to try to set up some late moves for her. We did manage to get 90+% on car setup, including a 100% on Tanaka, a very rare feat with the style of gameplay that we're doing. I am not under fueling at all, so that we have the ability to make some pushes and go for some overtakes, and with driver confidence on the high side, we could and should be looking at forward progress. But before we jump into the race on this one, quick announcement on this particular series and the subsequent F1 Manager 24. I am very excited to bring F1 Manager 24 to you. That's going to be a huge element of the channel. But there's also something that I've been thinking about for a long time. I at times end up with way too many active series, and with all of those going at the same time, it's really hard to push out the amount of content that I would like to push out. I think it's really important that I back off a little bit, cut down on the number of active series at a given time so that I can go a little more intensive. I think that pertains to more people's viewing styles. They want to get a lot of that content. They want to watch through it. They don't want it to drag out and take months and months. They want to see it all and move on. So I think I'm going to start shifting a little more into that style. And right now is the perfect time to start backing off. Well, this is a series that needs to come to an end. It's not going to come to an end today, but this is definitely going to be the final season for the F1 Manager 23. Yes, given time, Flourish will get a little bit better, and Tanaka will continue to get better, and they'll get more and more competitive. But it would be many, many years before we could see race victories out of either of them. And I think really the only way that that's going to happen is if we ever get a major overhaul to the regulations, to where we can really commit to that next year's car for the bulk of an entire season and use that time to prepare and get a head start and get the car that far ahead of everybody else. But right now, the problem is, yes, technically we have the number one car, but as we previously noted, we don't dominate anywhere. We just have the best overall package. And it's hard to get to a point where we can dominate anywhere because we're just so far behind everyone else, which is not exactly true either, right? The facilities are now all but done. The reality is it's just difficult to find gains, and all of the cars are in really, really good shape. All of them, all of the components are very competitive. So there's just such a small gap, which is what we're seeing in the field for today. Anyway, with the field being so tight, the driver input part makes that much more of a difference, which was why there's 10 drivers with a 90+ rating. And they are ranked 1 through 10 in the standings. There you go. It's that simple. That's why it's so difficult to pull points right now. Flourish is not that far off from the championship winning drivers that I had in F1 Manager 22, or at least overall rating. We know that some of that's artificially inflated by a really high adaptability rating, which isn't a very important piece to the puzzle when it comes to your overall pace and competitiveness on a weekly basis. But that's a pretty marginal element of that. And even if we were able to pull off 10 points from adaptability and put them in reactions where she, desperately needs it, yeah, she'd be faster, and it would definitely help her get a couple more positions on a week-by-week basis. But that's not putting her up or, fighting for podiums and fighting for race wins. Nowhere near it. It would get us more consistently in the points for sure. And, a couple positions up the standings as a constructor, but not where we need to be. The circumstances are that, unless we were to play many, many more seasons of this particular series, I don't think it's necessarily going anywhere. And we already know that it's minor regs for next year, so we wouldn't be looking at any significant changes next season. This season's going to be it, but with everything going on, I don't know if I'm going to get through these last few races in a terribly organized manner, and they might just episode by episode release one a week or kind of when I can, because I've got too much going on right now, and this is going to have to take a bit of a backseat.
We're all good to go here in Japan with 53 laps around the Suzuka circuit. The Williams driver, their attention purely on the race now.
P20 is definitely not where any driver would want to find themselves. But they've got to get their head down and work hard.
But there's no more time left. We've got a race on our hands. The drivers are warmed up. They're ready to go here at the Japanese Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
All right, well, we're racing 53 laps here, and we'll get on board. First off with Flourish, there is Tanaka on our left. Flourish already settling into last place. Tanaka up in 19th, now riding on board with her as we push through and head into the S's. Can she make a move on Drugovich? It looks like she's already kind of holding up, checking up. Checking other strategies, a lot of cars on the mediums. Did not expect to see a medium strategy. In fact, none of my engineers or race strategist calls were calling for a medium first strategy. None of them. Everything was soft, soft, medium, soft, or soft, hards. There was no scenario. I'm wondering if we're going to see a one-stopper, medium to hards. But Drugovich is already off the pace and holding us up, and we're stuck behind him. We're going to need to push to get around here with Tanaka as soon as possible. As for Flourish, though, I'm going to try to get underneath. DRS is now active, but wasn't there. The zone is just before the start of the lap. Flourish settling in, but Tanaka we need to push. Drugovich has caught back up to those ahead. Somebody ahead kind of backed off, and it backed the line up. As for Tanaka, we are overheating, which is definitely the worst case scenario with somebody who's terrible on tires. So we need to cool things off, especially now that it's not a given that we're going to just cruise around Drugovich. So now on lap 5, we have cooled off. We're back in shape. There's a yellow VSC just as I'm looking to make an overtake. Looks like we've got a Ferrari out of the race here.
Russell's involved.
Ferrari and Red Bull. It's two love coming together. Oh, huge lockup there. Yikes, that's one of the worst crashes we've ever seen in this game. Russell's car just disappeared off the face of the planet, too. Went right through the wall. It's not. It's Verstappen. Verstappen locked up, went into the back of Russell, and took them both out in epic fashion. That's 2 points paying positions that are now available. For now, it's Haas and Hadjar who are in those places, and we're still at the back, so going forward is going to be challenging. We are racing once again, pushing now to try to get back up on Drugovich, but trying to refill the battery did see us drop back a few tenths from where we were. But he goes defensive to the inside, and we are going to come up the outside and no, not complete the overtake. Wow, Tanaka, come on, you had the position. You might have had to leave the space, but with the softs, and driving aggressively should have been able to easily continue on and finish that job. Florsch, meanwhile, is going to... Tanaka lost a lot of ground through there. Drugovich almost getting within a second, and has just gotten within a second before the braking zone, and is going to end up getting DRS. We're pushing. And Drugovich had such an advantage there that Drugovich pulled out 0.3 of a second with the flap open. He goes from absolutely nowhere to just squeezing within 1 second and flies away from us, even though our flap was open too. But we lost a lot of ground there and now are chasing to get back within range. And Tanaka's supposedly pushing right now, and she's not making any she's losing ground. She is losing ground. Try to see if she can overtake Tanaka naturally. Tanaka's at that 60% point where she just can't handle it. We go to the inside, make the overtake easily, and Florsch is, well, ahead of our teammate. But Tanaka's had that couple occasions to make the overtake happen and couldn't do it. She's already out of DRS range on Florsch. That's how bad Tanaka is suddenly driving. Another VSE. Both Red Bulls are going to be out of this race. This one just totally self-inflicted.
What was that, honestly? Oh.
Flames. Wow, this is like epic level crashes today. Not much to lose here. I'm rolling the dice. I'm going to go for something. Tanaka is pitting under the VSC. And she's not the only one. There's at least 5 cars that have opted to pit here. Sainz, Magnussen, Piastri, and Maloney all diving off into the pits as well. We're going to get off these softs that Tanaka is wearing through so quickly and go on to our next set of softs. And then, instead of going to the mediums later, because we are pitting so much earlier, we're going to try to go to the hards with one more stop and hope that the time savings from pitting under the VSC will, and the undercut type scenario here, will put us in a better position to do something later in the race and still be in it. So Florsch is going to resume the race from P12, just on the back of Drugovich now. We had just caught up. We were just getting in position to have a run. Remember, we had overtaken Tanaka. We were outside of DRS range, and then we had just closed up on Drugovich, preparing to make an attempted overtake. And we're going to make an overtake even without DRS here. That is Florsch into P11. We are 1.7 behind Zhou, the next car, and for the moment anyway, we're only one position out of the points, but you got a lot of cars behind us that have already made their first stops of the day. But we're going to keep right on pushing till we can close that gap. Plus, we've got to try to hold off Drugovich here, but now 1.3 behind. We've got to keep an eye out for Drugovich. Drugovich does get DRS here. So we've only just overtaken, but we're good on that part. Zhou, Gasly, Albon, they all had DRS, so that group closes up. But now you figure that they're going to stretch back out as it's harder to follow here through the S's. Gives an opportunity for Florsch with the push to get back up there. We're now within 1.2, 1.1. So we might find ourselves in that DRS train here rather quickly. Yes, we are. Just 0.9 behind now. Keep pushing here just to make sure Drugovich actually is nearly out of range. Can we get Drugovich more than a second behind? We do. And we have. And we're moving forward quickly as Gasly is going backwards. Another driver error.
Now we see
this time it's Gasly 15 in the Aston Martin. Just a lock up, nearly takes out the car ahead of him. It's the same place where Verstappen made that mistake. He was a little too close to Russell when that occurred. Here, Gasly was just far enough behind, but he drops down a couple of positions. So Florsch up to P10 now, and we've got Drugovich out of DRS, and Zhou, at least temporarily, is outside of DRS range of those ahead of him. Sainz has caught and passed Drugovich, the first car to pit, and he's just behind us now. Zhou's yo-yoing in and out of DRS range here on lap 16, and Florsch preparing to make another push. We're going to have to pit pretty soon with her. especially with how aggressive we've gone strategy-wise so far. Go to the outside. No, we're just going to settle in behind, even though we had plenty of momentum to at least go up alongside. Choose not to, and it opens the door for Sainz to come alongside instead. And Sainz stays alongside and makes the overtake. So Florish, choosing to not be aggressive, allows herself to open the door and get overtaken instead. We're entering that optimal lap anyway, so go ahead and pit on the next one. And in the meantime, we're going to harvest on this lap and push on the others. Actually, we'll go full attack on the tires. Use up the tires, but harvest the battery. Sainz very quickly around Zhou. Moving on. These fresh tires definitely have some extra pace in them. Oh, Zhou also into the pits. Can we get the overtake done with a good pit stop? 2.552, and we sit. And we wait. And we wait for the Haas, who is behind. Come on. Jeez. Drugovich. There was a huge gap in between them, and we sat for 4 seconds? 3 seconds? Waiting for Drugovich to come through. That is literally the worst thing wrong with this game. Worst thing. And it will be fixed in F1 Manager 24. Pit boxes will move based on constructors. We should have been in a box ahead of Haas because we finished ahead of them last season, and we would not have been held up there. He would have been held up, and it wouldn't matter. We had a much faster pit stop than what he had. But now we've lost not only Zhou, who we arguably could have or should have been ahead of. We were right behind and, would have been a tenth or two faster on our stop and would have come out even closer. But wait, no. We're going to just wait and let another car roll on through and lose all that track position. So Florish is last place right now, trying to close up on Drugovich and Zhou. Tanaka is currently P13, so very much undercut scenario. Gained a lot of time from the strategy of pitting when we did with her, but it just put her out of her own pit strategy. But now we're out of our own pit strategy here as Drugovich has the fastest lap and Florish is behind. And we're on mediums, and that's a big question too. Drugovich is not. Drugovich is on the softs. No wonder he's faster and take it off. Zhou on mediums just as Florish is. Gasly has not pit. Pourchaire has not pit. Sargent is pitting now. So we're on. Most of the field has now made their first stops, and Florish is all the way back in last place. Yeah, it's not going terribly well, but Tanaka's all the way up in 10th, so, we did undercut very successfully with her, but she's going to have to pit again fairly soon, and I don't know if going to the hards is going to do her terribly well. I feel like Sargent just pit, yes. Oh, so did Gasly, so Florish is in between the Aston Martins. We were inside a second. We should have DRS. We do, but we still have no pace. Florish, for some reason, is just really slow on these mediums. If Florish is struggling that much on the mediums, imagine what's going to happen when I put Tanaka on hards. So I have a feeling I may need to... she still has 2 sets of softs. I might need to go to a third set of softs and then mediums at the end, meaning she'll still have an extra pit stop out of this, but it's going to give her a lot of extra pace throughout the day. She's already starting to slow down here at 51%. Now Albin goes around, and she just, as soon as everybody overtakes her, she instantly drops to a couple seconds behind. Now Drugovich has gone by. Alright, I'm going to go to the mediums for Tanaka for now, to the softs for the final stint. But I think that's the way to go. She's not going to have any pace on the hards. 2.366. Comes out in last, though. Fastest stop of the day. And Tanaka is 6 seconds behind Gasly. Florsch is currently 15th. 2 seconds behind Zhou. She has stabilized pace-wise with Zhou. Dragovic did drive away a little bit, but only by a handful of seconds. And that battle for the last points-paying positions with those 3 regular points getters out. Right now it's Maloney, Hadjar, Albin, and then the 2 Haas's. Florsch is pitting from P8, but that's because a lot of cars have already done their pit stops in the last couple of laps. So she's coming in that little bit later, a little bit fresher to the end, but it does lead to an undercut. And then we have a problem. 4.499. Florsch with a pit stop issue.
Over to you, Karun.
So there comes the Williams.
We just cannot seem to get things right today.
And it's in
Right rear.
that moment right there that things go wrong.
Florsch comes back out in P16. P16. So not last, but Gasly's closer than he was. And we're behind the 2 Haas's again. At the moment, we're looking at like the back of Sargent. Tanaka is right there. Zhou, just 1 stop. Norris Pourchaire, just 1 stop. And we're looking at tire life. 40%, 44%. Those 2 do look like they are going to need to pit once again. So Zhou expect to drop down. So that means Stroll will move up to 7th. And then you're looking at Maloney, definitely into the points. Albin and Hadjar being the favorites. Tanaka's not that far off. But here's Tanaka's problem. We're on medium still. I'm not going to pit again. We're going to go the distance. We're going to try to make it work. She's going to be really off the pace, though, right at the end. Right now, it's good for her. She's all the way up in P13. P13 for her. I mean, that part's fantastic. But Dragovic is like on the verge of passing us, and I don't know how we're going to keep up. All we have to push is these 2 things. So Tanaka is very unlikely to hold off a Dragovic or, be able to gain, and only 1 car pitting means P12. So the VSC thing for Tanaka has worked out well. For Florsch, she's had some bad luck. She has had some bad luck, and even then, she still would be behind Tanaka. Her bad luck has been 4 seconds. It would be a 1 position difference. And 5 seconds between teammates, where Dragovic has now gone by Tanaka, so she is now down to that 14th, and yeah, we're not going to feature in the points today. Lap 46, Tanaka continuing her backward trend with used mediums. She just doesn't have enough pace here. It's better than what we would have been on with the hards, but she just cannot keep pace up once the tire wear starts to get noticeably bad. She really, really loses pace, and you can see just how fast Tanaka is. We look outside, we look inside. Florsch cannot seem to overtake Tanaka. I really didn't want to use team orders for this. I mean, what's the point, especially when we're down at 15th? But at this point, Tanaka is really holding Florsch up. But we're going to get a nice run here. This should be an easy overtake. Should be an easy overtake. And she's just not going for it. Jeez. She's not even trying. Alright, we're going to tell Tanaka to quit fighting her teammate. And there you go. So, race situation. Pourchaire leads this race with a few laps left to go. Leclerc is second, just holding off Sainz in the Mercedes. Then Tsunoda a ways back, 6.5 seconds further down with Norris trailing. Magnussen 8.5 seconds down in 6th place with Hadjar. This is where things really open up. Stroll has not caught Hadjar, surprisingly. Does not seem to have very good pace. Fairly well used softs. A lot of them are on fairly well used softs. Zhou is still trying to go. 18% now. Like, how? I have never not punctured, dropping below about 23%, and Zhou continues on yet another lap here. 3 laps to go. There's 0 chance of him making it to the end, which means Zhou should be dropping not only well away from the points, but well out of this thing. You can see just how close the field is. I mean, last place, Tanaka. It's only half a lap behind the leaders. Oh, Gasly has caught... Wow, Gasly was like 8 seconds behind. Back to Flourish. Flourish has caught Piastri. So we have caught up to Piastri now, and Zhou, and Drugovich, and Sargent. So she's got a chance to move forward, but she does not have spare fuel. She does not have much for battery. Oh, and then the final lap. I thought we had 3 to go. This is our last overtaking opportunity right here. And can we do the double? Oh, come on. She had the position on Zhou. Zhou still going on 12%. Flourish just, like, aggression is high. Finally goes up the inside and sticks to it. Flourish up to P14, but Piastri is now long gone. Show at 11% and still nothing's happening. Can Tanaka maybe catch Zhou here at the end? Probably not. But that's going to be a P14 for Flourish. Zhou crossed just behind. Here's Tanaka. Not far behind in sight, certainly, but she couldn't handle the mediums all the way to the end. But of course, the extra stop for the softs would have put her quite a ways behind. And she would have been a lot further behind than she was, even though she was off pace. But it's so clear that Tanaka really struggles on used tires, and she burns through them so fast, and she ends up on used tires much faster than others. Flourish, like, okay performance, 14th. I mean, 6 positions higher than where she started, just out of reach of, you know, like Piastri and Sargent wasn't much further. Drugovich, we were ahead of Drugovich in a stupid pit stop thing, right? So we weren't that far off. Yet again, out of the points. Constant theme today. It's Hadjar getting 6 points, Albon getting 1 for AlphaTauri. It's Maloney getting a couple for Alfa Romeo. And so in that constructors, AlphaTauri now +7. They're doing fine with 61, and Alfa Romeo with 58. Right? That's not really the teams we're racing. It's Haas, it's Aston Martin. It's not really Haas either, though, is it? We're 10 points behind them, and maybe, just maybe, somewhere down the road we can get enough points. But we need to double what we have now, and we're still a point behind. But at least Aston Martin didn't score. I suppose there is that caveat. That's going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.